Hi, I'm Dr. Greg Crawford. I'm so glad you're taking Pathway Discipleship. This series was developed to help lay the foundation in the lives of believers and new believers. We're finding it that many people are enjoying it even if they've been in the faith for a long time. I want you to know there's also a workbook that goes along with this session. You can get a copy of it on Amazon by simply typing in Pathway Discipleship. This is what the workbook looks like, just like the logo here on the screen. Pathway Discipleship by Greg Crawford, and it should pull up. If not, you can go to my author page, Greg Crawford, and you can find all the books that I have. As you can tell, this is a fairly thick book. It is a workbook. It has the questions that's in Pathway, and it has materials that are setting in here as well that lets you follow along and even has things added that is not in the video and vice versa. So blessings on your journey today as you go forward in understanding the pathway in discipleship. God bless you. Well, we're back again for Pathway, and today, kind of sad, this is going to be the final pathway in this series. I thought I'd do two more, and I felt like I had said what I need to say in the pathway, and so today will be the final one of this series. And the day's title is, You Have a Destiny in God. And so as we're bringing Pathway to a close for now, and that doesn't mean that maybe I might add something in the future, there are some things I want to share from you, mainly from my heart today. It'll be kind of a teaching thing, but it'll be more my life journey and some just fatherly advice to everyone. There's some things I wish somebody had told me that would have actually helped me immensely in my spiritual growth. Things I had to find over time, things I could have used to accelerate my spiritual growth and even eliminate problems. Now, a lot of those things I've put into Pathway, and they are in the Pathway series. They might be topics or they might be something I said within a topic. But this final 30 minutes, I want to cover some things I feel most important. And in Africa, as I've traveled and do a lot of conferences and things there, they always believe the final word is the most important word. It's actually the things you've decided have to be still said. And so today I want to share with you a final word. I want you to come through Pathway. I want you to go out and do great accomplishments with your life. I want you to be solid in your faith and what you're doing to grow. And along with all the positive testimonies I receive, and I receive almost weekly testimonies from people that have went through Pathway and what it's done for their lives. But I also receive some testimonies and hear some things of people that didn't finish or abandoned the commitment to view all the videos. And in all honesty, it really saddens me. It saddens me for a few reasons. One, I've put a lot of effort into all these videos to produce them. I've made this a totally free thing. It's cost me hours and hours, hundreds of hours probably, in all honesty, to develop this and to put this into play. But the thing that saddens me the most is the answers that people need in life were probably given somewhere in the Pathway Discipleship series. And I have found that over and over and over in life, that there are times when you're needing an answer, and so you don't go to a meeting, or you don't feel it was important, or something happened. And that brings me to the very first thing I want to share with you. And the first point, number one, is the meeting or gathering you feel is not important or you don't want to go to is probably the very meeting that you need and holds your answers. I've seen this happen over 40 years of ministry. I've seen people struggle because an answer was given that would have helped them immensely and saved them lots of heartache, but they actually lacked the discipline to come to a meeting or be consistent in their walk. They decided the meeting wasn't important. I've actually had somebody say once to me, maybe you should teach on these these areas, and because these are things that I need and I know other people need. And I told him, I said, well, I happened to teach on those 3 things over the last 4 weeks, but you never came to the meetings. Well, can you reteach those things? And I'm like, no, I taught those things. It's just you decided it wasn't important to come together with others in fellowship and teaching. So it's not only a problem for the person, but it seems to always produce a lot of spin-off things in other people's lives. For example, counseling for a leader. A lot of times the questions that people have in counseling were given in a meeting, but they weren't there for the meeting. So now they come into a counseling session with a leader. I've seen people miss key moments in God, key times in God. I can think of a time when God said, I want you to take anyone that's 20 years and under today in the meeting. I want you to pray over them. I want their names written on a piece of paper, have them all write their name, put them in this box and seal this box, as this is a moment where I'm calling out these 20s and under in this moment. And it was a key moment, and the Lord said, you'll seal the box and it'll not be opened. Well, I happened to have a young man who wasn't there that week. The next week he heard what had happened, and I said, why weren't you here last week? Well, I slept in. I said, well, this happened last week. He goes, can you unseal the box and put my name in there? And I said, I can't do that. I did what God told me to do in obedience. And he was devastated. Well, it was a hard lesson to learn, but God was orchestrating something about commitment and discipleship and being disciplined. So don't miss your opportunity because you have a lack of disciplines in your life. Look at what it says here in Hebrews 10:25. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is, which means that some were doing that, but exhorting one another, so much the more as you see the day approaching. There's a real strength in gathering. So for me growing up, even though I had 3 kids, we worked, both of us worked, we were tired and exhausted at times, we never missed meetings because we were always experiencing something in God in some of those meetings that others did not experience. And that helped accelerate our growth. Number 2, one of the main things I learned right away, and this is very important, is to hear the voice of God. Distinguish it from your voice, from your thoughts, from all the other voices. This is probably one of the main things that is important to a young Christian, is distinguishing the voice of God. Now, how do you distinguish the voice of God? God does not contradict his word. So the more you're in the word, the more you know the voice. The more you are absorbing the word, the more you're knowing and understanding how the voice speaks. This is probably, to me, almost more important than reading the word of God. And I know that sounds kind of strange, but when you begin to hear the voice of God, you will make right decisions in all areas of your life. You'll navigate what the scripture is really saying. You'll avoid sin in situations. And to practice hearing that voice, you recognize that voice, and you can have conversations with that voice. Of probably all the things in my life, over 40-some years of ministry, the one thing I learned right away, and is still here today, is the voice of God. If God tells me to do something, I do it. I recognize the voice. I know what the voice sounds like in my own life. And it was because I practiced hearing the voice. And I believe we had a whole pathway just on hearing the voice of God. When you hear the voice of God, you also are going to dismiss all the other voices. You're going to dismiss your intellect. You're going to dismiss the voices of friends. You're going to dismiss the voices of culture. It's going to clean up how you walk your walk. And so when you hear that voice of God, it will lead you into things that's going to exercise your faith. It's going to cause your faith to have a demand put upon it because the voice is demanding something from you. And I always learned how to hear the voice from probably within the first 2 years of my walk. and I practiced hearing that voice constantly. I want you to see a couple of verses that you're very familiar with. John 10:4 through 5. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. That's pretty much a statement of fact. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers. 10:27, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. What you see with both of these is if you don't hear the voice, it's going to be more hard for you to follow God in what he might be asking. So hear that voice. Number 3, when you hear the voice, be quick to obey God's direction. Obey God's direction quickly, even if you don't understand it. There are many times God told me to do things that I didn't understand, but he told me to do it. He didn't want to bring the understanding to me. He wanted to see if I simply would be obedient to what he was saying. Would I yield to his urgings in my life? Look at these verses here. Psalms 119:60, I made haste and delayed not to keep thy commandments. John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments. Isaiah 119, if you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. These 3 verses really describe what it means to not delay, to not hesitate, but to simply obey. I've seen people try to obey, but they obey delayed. They wait 10, 15 minutes, and then they end up missing the moment of God. Or they don't obey until they figure it out or have more of a understanding of what they feel they are to do, and they miss the moment of God. Most of the time when God is saying, obey now, do this now, there's a timing involved. So realize when God is saying something and saying, do it now, that there is other factors that are involved. When you obey the delayed, you're out of the timing of God, and the impact is drastically reduced. Number 4, step out in faith and trust God. One of the things I realized as a new Christian, and realized pretty quickly, was God is not demanding of me. He's inviting me. He's inviting me into opportunities. And so I saw opportunities everywhere to do ministry. It was just how much do I really want to get involved? But I then also saw other people frozen in fear. They had gotten saved the same time I did, but for some reason they had a fear, and they came down saying, I'm not ready, I can't do that, I don't know if I should do that. And I realized very quickly it was not about being qualified, but about being willing. This led to more and more opportunities for me. It actually positioned me to be chosen for things I really wanted to do with my life. It even put me into places where I was able to be before important people. I was able to be before important ministry people, hauling them around in my car, taking them to the airport, doing different ministry assignments that were needed, but I also had ministry opportunities because of that. So you step out in faith and you trust God. You see, faith is stepping into the unknown. Trusting in God is putting your whole self into his place. Look at what this says here, Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart. See, it's putting the totality of yourself into God's hands. And lean not unto thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Number 5, maintain daily speaking in tongues. Maintain daily speaking in tongues. Of all the routines that I had in life, between work, family, responsibilities in ministry, trying to read the word, trying to pray, this is probably one of the easiest routines that you can do, is to speak in tongues. because you can speak in tongues while you're doing anything in any situation. You can speak in tongues while running a machine in a factory. You can speak in tongues building a house. You can speak in tongues all and any place you want to be. So it's one of the easier things to do. But what it does as you speak in tongues is it keeps your spirit connected to God's Spirit. It's not affected by your feelings or life issues or those things. It's a direct pathway to God, not based on your understanding. So what you're doing is you're exercising your spirit to be spiritual. It's yielding to God, and your flesh is coming underneath that. It's forcing your flesh to yield to the Spirit speaking in tongues through you. Speaking in tongues really was an empowerment for me. And when I started speaking in tongues, I saw that there was diverse tongues, meaning different tongues for different situations. I ended up with about 4 distinct different prayer languages in my life. Not just my personal prayer language, but a prayer language for warring, a prayer language for interceding, a prayer language that was, I believe, is actually another language on the earth, and my own personal prayer language to God. I ended up with 4 distinct prayer languages that to this day I can define. And when one of those kicks in, I know why. And when another one kicks in, I know why. So there's not just one type of tongue, there's many tongues. And pray in tongues, pray in all kinds of prayer. Let's look what the verses actually say here, a couple verses. In Jude 20, "But ye, beloved, building up yourself on your most holy faith, praying in the Holy Ghost." So there it's very plain. You're building yourself up in faith. Ephesians 6:18, "Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit." Meaning there's different ways of praying in the Spirit. "Watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints." When you pray in the Spirit, you're building your spirit and your faith up. When we would come together in the early days of getting born again, we would just pray in tongues almost every time for a while. When we were praying over people, one person might be praying in English, everybody else was praying in tongues. And when the person got done praying in English, then one of the people praying in tongues would pray in English, and everyone else would pray in tongues. We prayed in tongues a lot. And partly because we valued that we had engaged into a supernatural activity of God, and that it was part of being spiritual. So pray in tongues. Pray without ceasing. I've actually prayed in tongues and went to sleep and woke up praying in tongues. Your spirit does not sleep. So pray in tongues, and pray in tongues a lot. Number 6, don't pick and choose what you do for God, but do what's at hand. And you've probably heard me say this many times. But that comes down to believing that God has brought that assignment that you see across your path. You may not understand everything about the assignment, but you're looking and believing there's something I can learn, and there's a principle here that I'm supposed to participate in. Many people don't want to do what's at hand. They want to have something glamorous or something to be well known for or something to be able to brag about. But I started doing what was at hand. And in the early days, what that meant was I would clean the church. I would mow the grass. I would sweep the walks. I would clean the walks of snow. I would clean car windshields after services. I would sneak out as an usher and I would clean off all the cars and not tell anybody. It wasn't about that people would know what I was doing, but it was about that God knew what I was doing. And that was all I needed, and that was good enough for me. So when you do what's at hand, it sometimes will take you through and to important people. And for me, it's opened those kinds of doors of ministry. At times I say, how in the world did I get here? Like to be on the Senate floor and walk through the Senate floor for a couple hours in the U.S. Senate in D.C. and praying over desk and over that room. How did I get there? I did what was at hand. And by doing what was at hand, it led us to that point. What was at hand that day? I went to D.C. to support a friend who was doing a prayer initiative in D.C. We broke out into teams to go to different locations. I was put on a team to go to the to the national capital to pray. We went in and we prayed. We met a page. We went into a back room where the pages are. We prayed back there. Eventually, we ended up out on the Senate floor with 4 other people. I look back and say, how in the world did this happen to me? Well, it happened because I did what was at hand. Now, by doing these things and doing what's at hand, it has given me a wide perspective of ministry. It showed me the importance of serving the body in every area of ministry, to the sound equipment, to greeting at the door, to having a clean environment for people to come to, that they feel welcome. All the different aspects that I have done, and I've done every aspect of ministry. And there's some things in ministry that I still like doing and would rather do those things than having a lead role in ministry. But all of it is serving. And when you do something in hand, what you're doing is you're serving God. Let me show you this verse. Colossians 3:23. And whatsoever you do, do it heartily, as to the Lord and not unto men. Everything that I did it with my whole heart. I didn't shortchange. I didn't cut corners. I tried to even go beyond if it was possible. Now, when you start to do something with your whole heart, you're doing it in the best way possible. You're doing it with the spirit of excellence, because you're not working for the person who assigned you the task. You're working for God. And what you're doing is you're proving you can handle assignments and you can steward what has been given to you, and you're actually setting yourself up for promotion. Number 7. Number 7 is a vast topic, and it's the kingdom. In all honesty, no one told me or even mentioned the kingdom of God to me for probably the first 15 to 20 years, almost 20 years of ministry life, of being a Christian, even though it's so prevalent in the scriptures. It took me the 20 years to finally discover it. Yet it's a key point in the entire Bible, an entire point of the New Testament even. I look back and see some of these things so lacking in my own development and think, where could I be today if these things were told me? That is why I've put so many of these things in Pathway and even corrected some of the doctrine that's not necessarily from God. It's more man-made ideas and theology that we've embraced, not understanding. So I'm trying to correct that as I go, so you, as you go through Pathway, and I've went through Pathway, are having a solid foundation. So all I can say about the kingdom is the vastness of it. We've talked about it. If you want more understanding, get into Legacy School and see what we have to offer there. The kingdom is the main priority, and stay focused on kingdom. The only thing I'm going to say, because the vastness of this could take hours and days, is to say this to you. Every question that you have will be answered through a kingdom perspective. Every question you have will be answered through a kingdom perspective. So you'll find the answers as you apply the kingdom into it, because the kingdom is the activation or the catalyst to activate your faith. Number 8, God has a plan for your life. People would say that to me in a general sense. God has a plan for you. Oh, look how you're doing that. Oh, this and that. They would see the things that I was intentionally applying, and they would say, God's got something for your life He wants you to do. But no one really explained destiny to me. No one really explained divine plan or divine purpose or divine intention. No one told me that it was ordained before my birth. No one told me that it was actually a guided process and not just fate. I thought fate would lead me there. I thought that I will eventually stumble in to doing what God wants me to do, with no intention of doing it. And yet, God has a plan that's unfolding. And God has an expectation for your life. And that is why you've came through Pathway, and it's why I put Pathway together. I'm wanting you to find that divine plan. When we look at Jeremiah 29:11, very popular verse, I know the thoughts I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. What that verse is talking about is God has a destiny for you that is full of hope, purpose, and peace. I was not told that. The word thought there in that verse means a calculated plan and strategy. I was not taught that either. It says to bring us to an expected end, to bind your future to the now. Basically, what I was told was because of the actions that you do, there may be something God will choose you for to serve Him in. Well, I was already serving God in things. I was already doing things. But this verse is talking about that God has this towards every single person. You right now, God has a calculated plan and strategy for you. He's wanting to bring your future into the now. He's working in all of these things that plan would not be held from you, but would be given to you to be exercised out through your life. If I'd have known that back in that day, it would have given me a lot more hope and purpose, and I would have not had the struggles that I had of thinking that I had to do certain things or be certain things or be a certain way to be chosen by God. That God already chosen me before I was born. He chose me in my mother's womb, and He had a plan for my life. And God has a plan for your life. The final thing that I would say to you is never stop learning. Never stop reading. Never stop reading books. Never stop reading the Word. Keep applying, keep applying, keep applying. Be teachable and have a teachable spirit. As you have a teachable spirit, all of these things will fall into place. The thing that I did throughout my life was that I decided I would never stop learning about God. I would never max out. And that's caused me to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. So my final words to you are, you've gotten an introduction into these things that I've been talking about in Pathway. And I had to, when I started my spiritual journey, I had to be responsible for my own life. I couldn't blame others because I did not find or attain what was in my hand that I could attain. You've been given an investment, and I hope you take it seriously. And the things that I shared here in Pathway are things that took me years to find, and they filled out the holes in my life and in my belief system. And I've heard that through the testimonies of some people who've been Christians 30 years and have taken Pathway and are finding out things that are now making a complete picture. A lot of the things that I've taught here, I wished I'd have taught in our prior Bible colleges and schools. I wished I'd have taught my own kids and my spiritual kids. But now the question is, what are you going to do with what's been given? And you can't say I didn't teach you, and you can't say I didn't withhold from you. When I talked to a dear spiritual father, friend, teacher, Jim Hodges, about the lack of things produced in my Bible school one time, I said the American students just don't seem to produce, and the international students go out and do things. And I feel like I'm not teaching something right, or I'm left something out. And in his wisdom, he said, it's not what you've taught, because what you've taught is right. It's because what you have taught has not been acted on by those American students. It's a lack of the doing more so than a lack of what's been taught. And that brings me to my final point I want to bring out. You must do with what has been given. Even if you're unsure, do something. Even if you feel unprepared, do something. The maturing happens in the doing. The growing happens as you take what's been given and apply it. So take Pathway. It's a tool. Start a group. Start creating your own legacy upon the earth. Destiny is what you become, not just what you do. And God believes in you more than you realize. He believes in you more than yourself by a long ways. And He is invested into your life, and He's investing into your inheritance. I want to read one final scripture today. And we know that all things work together for good, to them that love God, to them that are called according to His purpose. Everything that you're going to see, everything that you're going to do in life is going to be because God has called you to His purpose. It's His purpose more so than yours. So today there are 5 questions as usual, but today I'm not going to have those. They're simply contemplation. If you're in a group, discuss what you've gained by pathway and how can you apply it. So the questions today are not questions. It's a discussion now of the overall pathway. And what are the things maybe you need to shore up? What are the things you're unsure of? But then really, what are the things that you should do? Maybe there's someone in this group today that 2 of you could start a pathway together. Because as you've seen how this has been done, it takes away the stress of you having to teach, and it comes into the discussion in the conversations that you have afterwards. Well, this is the final pathway for now. I just want to thank you for taking the entire school, the entire pathway discipleship program, coming to this point. And I just tell you this, I may not know who you are, we may never meet, but go out and do something for God. And when we get to heaven, we'll find each other and we'll talk about it and discuss the exploits that we did for Him. God bless you, and we'll see you sometime in the journey of life. Thank you. Well, I trust you're finding Pathway Discipleship to be a great blessing in your life. There's some things I would ask of you if you've been through the courses, or even partially through the course. First, would you tell others about it? I'd like others to know about this discipleship program that we have created that's totally free for you and for others as well. There's really nothing like this out there if you would look around. The second thing is if you did go ahead and purchase my book, Pathway Discipleship, online on Amazon, if you would go to Amazon and write a book review, it would really be appreciated, because a book review on Amazon empowers me to be able to go up in their algorithms and others to find the workbook. The workbook also connects you back to the YouTube videos. And lastly, the last thing you can do is support me in getting the word out by donating. We have a place where you can donate specifically for Pathway. It's on our website and also on our app. And this will take you to both locations. If you're in the app area on your phone and it pulls up on your phone, you could go ahead and download the app and stay connected. There are a lot of different resources in our app, and you can find the base app in your local app store. But to give, you just simply type in thebaseiowa.org/give. thebaseiowa.org/give. And that will take you to our secure area, and you can give online and specify the Pathway Discipleship area in the pull-down menu. We will use this offering entirely to promote this free resource. It costs money to advertise and to run social media ads. And so that's all we're doing in asking for donation. It's not helping for me to support myself. I get support in other ways. It's actually helping to get the word out on this. So blessings in your journey today as you journey in your pathway and come into a greater area of discipleship. God bless you, and thank you for helping out in these simple ways.